the FF Dynasty presents Married to the Game for your pleasure.
Shall we start the show?
Yeah, no reason to dilly-dally.
Let's get it cracking.
Whip crack with this trumpet tail.
And just like that, we're going to get into an argument right off the rip. Packers backfield, Aaron Jones at 94, Jamal Williams at 131. Who you got?
Man, do I have to choose between the two?
Why is there a big gap?
It's a
Well,
huge
because
gap.
people love Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams is a plotter, clearly.
Yeah,
Obviously.
bad yards per carry. Can't even get it out anymore without laughing at
Jamal
that.
Williams is a pretty solid pass protector. I like what I saw him in the pass blocking game here. I think that's going to equate to a decent amount of snaps on the field for him. I like him at the later ADP. I like Aaron Jones' pass catching ability, but I saw Jamal Williams catch plenty of passes last year.
Look awesome doing it.
Well, Aaron Jones won in
Yeah. One out of every two runs went for a lot of yards, and none of Jamal Williams'
only one in
carries went for a lot.
138 yards went over 15 yards, and one in every 20 runs of Aaron Jones went over 15 yards. So clearly,
this whole Packers backfield was interesting because they had three guys that could get the job done, and they started the year off with Ty Montgomery. He got hurt. Jamal Williams, I think, got hurt like that same game, and Aaron Jones had to come in, and he had his spot. And Aaron Jones looked pretty good. I mean, he blew the wheels off, blew the doors off the place. Everybody loved Aaron Jones. I was in.
Dude.
I know Big Co was in.
That Cowboys game, Aaron Jones was legit.
Right. And then I went back and watched him versus the Bears, and then I also watched the Jamal Williams tape versus the Bears. And I was like, man, Aaron Jones looked he crushed the Bears, and Jamal Williams was struggling a little bit, but I know the Bears had a good defense, and I looked a little bit more into it, and like Aaron Jones was the quarterback Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback when Aaron Jones was going against the Bears, and the Packers were at home. And then when Jamal Williams was playing the Bears on the road, he had Brett Hundley, right? Totally different ball game when you got Brett Hundley back there versus Aaron Rodgers,
sure.
right? So, but then Jamal was getting it done still, though. It just wasn't a lot of big yards. He was having to grind out tougher yards against more stacked boxes and against a good defense playing at home. And so he still like never lost any yardage. He was always falling forward, spinning forward, getting like he didn't always make the first guy miss, but that guy didn't stop him in his tracks. He always got a little bit more.
Sure.
And then he played really well like in the receiving game, in the screen game, and in the pass protection game. So like I like them both.
they have a big enough gap between them where you could potentially get both of them on your team, which I don't hate. I think both of them are good players. I think within the Packers, like I think whichever guy's kind of in there doing his thing, I'm fine with kind of playing either one of them. I think you can get both.
They obviously seem to ride the hot hand, and there was a couple games there, especially that Dallas game. I mean, I remember that night Casey was out of town for a wedding, and it was just me and Jay Wayne, and the Dallas game had just happened, and Aaron Jones took the world by storm with that 19 carries for $125 and a touch, and just looked ridiculously good doing it. And for sure, the next week it goes at Minnesota. I'm not upset with anybody who doesn't play well against Minnesota. And then the next week he's tears it up for 17 for $130 and a touch. But like you said, and then you look at what Jamal Williams was able to do the back half of the season, where sure, I love the 20 and 21 carry games and 100 yards and a touchdown and stuff like that, but the 4 catches, 4 for 38, 4 for 69 and a touch, 7 catches for 69 and a touch. I mean, what else are you looking for this far down in the draft from a guy as Aaron Rodgers as running back was everybody wants. And last year it was Ty Montgomery's going into the offseason, coming into the year. As soon as Matt Kelly called Ty Montgomery Baby David Johnson, then it was ridiculous. It was on for the ADP. And
Bonanza.
It was a bonanza. And I told you to sell. And then Ty Montgomery came out there and he did look pretty good, but he wasn't. It definitely wasn't no Baby David Johnson. But he was catching the shit out of the ball and
grinding it out.
I kind of grinded it out. I don't call 10 carries for 35 yards and 12 carries for 35 grinding it out, but 6 catches for 75 and a touch.
Bingo.
Looks great. I don't call that carry grinding it out. So, but
the yards per carry weren't the best.
But his hands are sticky because he used to be a wide receiver. So they got 3 guys that could get this job done. I like what Casey said about maybe potentially drafting them both. That is putting some eggs in a basket, but
it could be a
Solid
little hair.
basket.
It
Jamal
could be a
Williams-
hair pulling situation.
it could be. But Jamal Williams was very startable the back half of the season, and Aaron Rodgers was nowhere to be seen.
Jamal's a guy everyone loves to hate.
Exactly. But so I'd like to predicate, if you look at a lot of the Packers' values in the last couple years, Jordy and Randall Cobb and Devontae Adams, specifically until this past year with Devontae Adams, all of it was predicated on Aaron Rodgers. When Aaron Rodgers was not healthy, Randall Cobb's a different player. Jordy Nelson is, maybe you get lucky and he gets a touchdown, but he's not Jordy Nelson with A-Rod in there. But Jamal Williams put up some really good fantasy points without Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Jones looked fantastic in 3 games in a row 2 out of 3, take away the Vikings game. I mean, I don't have a problem putting both of these guys on my team.
No,
Yeah.
I think they're both decent players. They're different players.
They are.
I like what Jamal Williams brings to the table, and if I had to take one, I'm probably going to take him because he's a little later in the ADP, and people love to hate him, and I like what I saw from him. I didn't hate by any means what I saw from Jamal Williams. And now Aaron Jones, everyone who's the lighter kind of pass-catching back kind of guy is going to gravitate towards him, and that's fine with me too. Like, I'll take either one of them, and I'll gladly take both of them on my team.
Yeah,
Well, I think
I would.
So I think the uncertainty is driving all these guys backwards. If any of them were the guy, they'd be,
Right.
halfway up the draft past this.
And we
So-
still don't know if Ty Montgomery's going to be a wide receiver or running back yet.
So what's going on with the Ty Montgomery stuff?
Well, Ty Montgomery's at 120, so it kind of in between both of these guys.
I think regardless of his position, I'm in on Ty Montgomery still.
I also am in at Ty Montgomery at 120. I do believe that
Obviously,
they're
you can't have all 3 of these guys on your team.
I do believe that they're getting rid of Randall Cobb. I think Ty Montgomery will move into the slot.
They did recently say they want to keep him.
Who, Randall Cobb?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're not going to say that we're going to cut this guy. See you later, Randall.
So continue to tell me what's going on with Ty Montgomery.
So I think he'll probably move into that slot role, but
And would be a catch machine if he did.
I don't see any reason why you can't kind of they came out recently and said that he could be a little bit of a hybrid, and I don't see anything wrong with putting him in the backfield from time to time, motioning him around, checking it down to him here and there, and putting him in the slot. Like I don't see anything wrong with that. I like that. I'm all in on Ty Montgomery at 120. I like that.
Well, what you just described was exactly the way they used Ty Montgomery in his rookie season before he got hurt with the ankle injury to begin with.
Right.
The first 2 or 3 games of his entire career, he was out there in the backfield as a wide receiver motioning around because he's 200
Super versatile.
He's 215 pounds.
I just don't think he needs to be pounding it in the running back room. I think he's going to switch rooms to the wide receiver room, and then you'll kind of see him maybe.
So he's got a new desk
Little
when he goes to the team
A
facilities.
new old desk.
Maybe.
New old desk. Yeah. Gotcha.
And I'm 100% okay with I like any of those guys, really. I think, like I said, I think that Montgomery's going to a little bit move towards the receiver end of things, and I'm really okay with Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams. I like Jamal Williams being a little later in the
I thought that Ty Montgomery looked just fine running the ball. People want to crush him because of his yards per carry and the fact that he got hurt. He broke some ribs and then had some wrist surgery. Shit happens. I think but they do have these other 2 solid guys, so maybe they want to utilize him, get him on the field, put him in the slot. I don't know if they're going to change his position or what. I don't think you can put them all 3 on your team, like you said, Big Co, but I'd be willing to take stabs on any of them because I do like that offense.
I would like to have one of them going through that.
I would like to have one of them or
Yeah.
a combination of 2.
Right. I will say that Aaron Jones did just plead no contest to driving a vehicle with under the influence of marijuana. Whoops. Yeah. This will probably result in some sort of discipline from the league. Does it affect the way I feel about him? Not really. Maybe a little bit. Like it happened back in October, right in the middle of the season. Can't be driving around high during the season, right?
Come on now.
You definitely can't be speeding if you are.
Come on now.
That's what he got pulled over for, was speeding, which that got thrown out. He didn't get a ticket for that, but
Hey, watch this shit. I'm about to go real fast.
hold on, Dave. I'm going to race him. Excuse me, officer.
You'll never believe what he said next. I'm sorry, officer. I didn't know I couldn't do that. You see, Dave, I did know I couldn't do that.
So I'm gonna get us back on track here.
All right.
I got a little. I don't want to get on the Aaron Rodgers hate train here, but I'm scared of. Listen. This is serious business
This is
here.
serious.
I'm talking about my fantasy team.
Real
so I'm about
talk.
to get real deep right here. I'm talking about my fantasy team. All right, I'm worried about Aaron Rodgers' clavicle. Okay,
They're about to make him the highest paid player in the history of the league.
That's 2 times. I don't care. You're not listening.
That doesn't matter to you? It matters to me.
I brought it up about Devontae Adams'
Right.
concussions.
The
like what they
Packers are
just paid
just
him.
throwing out millions of dollars. They're not worried about these dudes medically.
Oh, I guarantee you they're worried about Aaron Rodgers is breaking his collarbone. It's a slippery slope. Ask Tony Romo.
Y'all
okay?
boys are always telling me about injuries, and you can't just shy away a guy from because he's injury
Quarterbacks
prone.
that get tackled by larger men than they are every single time they go out there, and more than likely they land on a shoulder. And once this is a third time for A-Rod. This thing's all brittle in multiple places, surgically repaired 3 times. Listen to what I'm saying. Don't shrug it
listening.
off. This is serious
fine.
business.
He's fine.
He's fine until he's laying on the mat again, and then your fantasy team goes down to shitter. Listen, if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt,
Not if Jamal
and
Williams
they bring
is on
in
your team.
exactly.
Right.
Let me take it. Let me connect the dots.
or Devontae Adams.
If Hundley's back in there at any point next year, the 2 players that showed themselves to be able to be good without Aaron Rodgers is Hundley likes Devontae Adams and Jamal Williams is getting 20 carries a game. I'm done. Obviously, I got Randall Cobb everywhere. I got Devontae Adams. I like these running backs. I don't want anything to happen to Aaron Rodgers, but life after Aaron Rodgers is Jamal Williams is getting a ton of carries, and Devontae Adams is still freaking good.
I feel like I just tuned into some sort of conspiracy theory podcast.
I'm
Mel
just telling you
Gibson
guys
over
to
here.
think about this
Do
kind
you
of stuff.
think
Because
that-
Aaron Rodgers has not finished many seasons in the last. He's 1 in, 1 out.
Who really
one
killed
in, 1
Kennedy?
out?
Do you think the government wired the Twin Towers with dynamite?
If you watch that 30, that's an.
Of course he does.
That 45 minutes will really get you thinking on Netflix about what happened.
Did we land on the moon?
Yeah, because like they were.
That's great.
they,
We've landed on the moon.
they were like, why? There's no gravity, so why is the flag up all
All
the
right,
way?
well, let's get this thing. Let's get this thing back on track.
Right?
I get what you're saying with the Aaron Rodgers thing, but
And the moon landing.
I think A-Rod is going to be just fine.
That's what you thought last year.
Well, I mean, shit happens.
Yeah, shit happened to him a couple times. Now you got shit all over your shoe. You
Yeah.
can't get it off. You're looking for a stick.
He'll be all right.
What you need is a high pressure water hose.
Let's.
Spray that shoe right off because the stick ain't gonna get it. It's nasty and it's stuck on there.
Hey, Chucko, this doesn't smell like mud.
It's crud. You called the white stuff
Tommy
crud.
boy. That's a Tommy boy quote.
You called the white stuff.
All right, so let's keep this train rolling. We got a little bit of.
I hope Aaron
carried
Rodgers
away.
is just fine. I'm just telling you.
Let's
It could happen again.
Let's stick with the Packers rivalry here. Kyle Rudolph at 106. I think this is a trade target, and I think this is a guy that I would absolutely be picking up at 106, no problem, all day, every day. I think Kyle Rudolph is, and especially if Kirk Cousins goes over there,
True that.
give me all the Kyle I can get. This guy, I think he's just been kind of disrespected for years now.
Yeah.
We just saw him get traded for a second rounder in one of our FFPC leagues, and Casey's like, why didn't we get a call about that?
In what world?
Why didn't we
Is that
would have
okay?
given you a 2 and
Yeah.
maybe a little more? Can
Yeah.
we get a call before this trade gets accepted?
This is an FFPC
tight end premium and
tight end premium,
Kyle just
$250 buy-in,
gets
and you're over
shipped
here
out
just
for
selling
a
Kyle
2?
Rudolph for a 2? Come on, man.
at least announce something to the league.
For real.
Give
Let
us
me
a
know.
shot.
Give me a shot. Give me a shot.
So yeah, I like Kyle Rudolph there. We can keep it moving.
You like Kyle?
Yeah, I'm in on Kyle Rudolph. Last offseason, Big Co left the party with his pimento cheese. Wouldn't even come in the door at Kyle Rudolph's party.
Not gonna lie, I'll tell you when I got it right. Tell you when I got it wrong. I didn't. I was selling on him catching 80-something more balls, and he didn't do it. But he's living in the red zone, and he had a
Oh,
really.
that was my takeaway. Red zone.
He did not give him anywhere close to his 83 catches, and it's because they had Diggs stayed healthier than everybody thought he would, and all of a sudden Thielen's good, and they first 4 games of the year they couldn't not throw it to a running back named Dalvin Cook, and they got other things cracking and other just funneling targets to Kyle Rudolph, but the dude lives in the red zone. And coming at a 28-year-old man, he's just now getting into the prime of how tight ends work. I mean, there's Gronk's tailing off, and Kelsey does his thing, but there's only a couple of them. And, I mean, I'll take Kyle Rudolph in the 10th round all day long.
Sure.
I like this tattoos.
Sure.
Yeah.
He does have solid tattoos.
He's kind of like a Viking.
All right. Let's move on to the Jaguars receivers. No?
Nope. Taking a break.
Yeah.
Break time. Be back after this.
As I alluded to, as I was rudely cut off to take a break, we're going to move on to the Jaguars. We are going to talk about how we've said it multiple times already, how disrespectful we think the 115 Marquise Lee ADP is.
It's the cheapest money in the whole draft, man.
That was a decent Scarface right there, I think. So as far as obviously maybe Marquise Lee isn't on the Jaguars next year, but Westbrook is at 119, Lee's at 115, and Keelan Cole's at 151. Let's start at Marquise Lee, and let's talk about the disrespect here that you guys believe. I mean, I think he should be up by Josh Doxson. When we talked about him on the last show, we were like, yeah, this is an ugly spot here to be drafting players. Like, Marquise Lee is a reliable asset.
Have you not been watching football? And
I think any team he goes to, it'll be a nice treat for them. I don't think he's going to be retained by the Jaguars. So what do you got over there?
Well, Marquise Lee, his numbers don't jump off the page, but he was, first of all, he had Blake Bortles throwing him the ball. And a pound it all day long type offensive scheme, that's what they're going for. They bring in the
God bless him, he was the number one. Like, just let him be the two.
Yeah, let him be the two. He wasn't supposed to be the number one.
That's what I'm
Allen
saying.
Robinson blew his knee out.
But last year,
A-Rob's supposed to be, tearing the defense up, and Lee's going to be killing them with crossers. That's what he does. Like, Marquise Lee, he had a strong finish to the season in 2016. I said, and A-Rob was on the field, and obviously there's a big disconnect there between Bortles and Allen Robinson. And I said it looked like to me Marquise Lee was the best wide receiver they had down the stretch. And he comes out this year in 2017, and
fairly consistent.
There's some lower games in there, but everybody had.
He was
lower
banged
games.
up and
just playing through injury the whole time.
He was playing through some
but that's
injuries.
what you like to see, because he was kind of an injury-prone guy, and it's nice to see him play through those injuries.
This is true. I'd love to see him playing tough. You got a streak there where he's like 5 for 83, 4 for 72, 8 for 75 and a touch, 6 for 55 and a touch. It just 5 for 45, then a bad game, 7 for 86 and a touch.
And that's against your best corner, man. That's
a best corner all year long, and then the 1 for 13, he goes to Arizona and plays against Patrick Peterson.
Right.
But that's the thing about Marquise Lee, like the savvy fantasy football player. I sit him when he goes on the road. We sit him down and don't play him when in the team that Casey and I have together. Like, we don't play him on the road against Arizona. Next week at home against the Colts, we plug him back in there. He gets you 7 for 86 and a touch. You just got to be smart about how you do some of this stuff. He's not your wide receiver one on your team, so it's not like you play. It's not freaking Antonio Brown where you never take him out of your lineup. But at 115 in the ADP, I believe this guy is I think he's too cheap. I mean, now the farther we get along into these is Jags wide receivers. If some things fall, the Bortles has been re-signed. If they bring back Allen Robinson, and with the emergence of the two younger guys we're going to start talking about here, and the fact that they're going to pound the rock and that's how they roll, maybe Marquise Lee is a little less dependable next year because there's a lot of mouths to feed all of a sudden in a team.
I don't think he's coming back.
He's not coming back.
Okay, all right. So
Ray ain't coming home.
Ray ain't coming home. On a team that wants to run the ball.
She expects him home any minute.
If they bring
Your
him
wife
back.
said.
They bring him back like that. I love Marquise Lee going somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
All in on Marquise Lee.
I think he's a solid 2 somewhere else, and
excited about seeing him go somewhere else.
Absolutely. I think this is again, I'm with you, a little bit of a disrespectful 115. Give me all the Marquise Lee. If this is how people value him, I'm trading for him.
Yeah.
All day long.
Yep.
All day.
All right.
All day.
All day.
All day, son.
All day. But let's venture into the young bloods over there. You got Westbrook sitting at 119 and Keelan Cole sitting at 151. We think Allen Robinson's going to be back. I think I'm going to...
I'm not going to lie. The probability of A-Rob coming back and they sign Bortles is just like, dang it, this is the worst of both worlds. I didn't want either of those to happen.
I didn't want either one of those to happen either, but I mean, Bortles put it together in some stretches last year for as disrespectful as you want to be. It's a very good deal for the Jaguars. They can get out of it whenever they want to. It's a cheap deal for them. They saved them. They got themselves some cap room in making this deal. But at Westbrook at 119, Keelan Cole at 151, I think I'm buying more Keelan Cole than Westbrook just because he's cheaper.
Yeah.
I like the explosive nature of what Keelan Cole did throughout the season last year and came out of nowhere. But, I mean, I'm not upset with taking Westbrook at 119 either. Like, I like what I saw from him. He did nothing but perform.
Yeah,
And
I think that the 115 for Marquise Lee is terribly disrespectful and way out of line. But I think 119 for Dede is about on par. I think that's probably
Right.
a fair place to have to spend to get this dude, because
this was a rookie coming off an injury.
Oh my
and came
gosh,
back
yeah.
in, and when he came back in, he picked up where he left off in the preseason.
yeah, I mean, he missed 10 weeks. He missed 10 weeks with a core injury and comes in and just, like you said, picked right back up where he was. And he's just he's super intriguing to me. He's fast. He's a burner, but he has this uncanny ability to separate at the very end of a route, right before the ball gets there. And he's got super late hands, so he disguises it well. Like when the ball's coming, he'll lay it all out on the line. I mean, he'll crush a crossing route. I really enjoyed how they started to use him when he did come back from that core injury. I mean, he crushed it in the preseason, but that's against, second, third, fourth stringers. That's not who he's playing when he comes back in week 10 or week 11 and starts playing really well. I mean, making plays down the field in the short game against the sideline. He's a gamer, and I think I got to be in at 119. I mean, let me get some Dede.
Yeah, I mean, to be the young guy that had some draft capital. He was the best wide receiver in college 2 years ago, so they said. He won the award, and he comes out, like you said, Jay Wayne missed all those games.
Heisman finalist.
Yeah, made it to New York. Comes out, first game as a pro off the injury, 3 for 35. That's not terrible, but it's not fantastic. 6 for 41, 6 for 78, 5 for 81 and a touch. I mean, and that's against...
He was doing what Marquise Lee was supposed to be doing in this offense across from Allen Robinson.
Exactly. And 6 for 41 was against Arizona, and 5 for 81 and a touch was against Seattle. And, I mean, they just...
Another thing to be said for Dede is the reason why he slipped to the 4th round in the draft is because he had some off-the-field concerns. He had some baby mama drama. There was some domestic allegations. There were never really any charges or
allegedly.
Right.
Allegedly.
But I mean, it was over and over. It happened a few times. But for Tom Coughlin to come in here, take a chance on this dude, get him in the 4th round. He made it a whole season. You didn't hear anything negative about him. There was never any distractions. When he got healthy, he got his chance, and then they started to pepper him with some targets here and there, and it looked awesome. And so he was behind the 8 ball all the way to getting to where he got. And now he's shown you some flashes on the field that look really good for a guy who's he's 180 pounds soaking wet or something, right? Like, he's just not that big of a dude, but his play is so much bigger than that.
It's good points.
He's got that lethal ability, but he's got the short game working too. And I like the scheme of him. So many plays they were putting him in motion behind the line of scrimmage. Like, that just sets the defense on edge. They're about to hit you in the face with Leonard Fournette, but with this dude motioning, and he's so fast and quick, it just all works together, and I really like it going forward. I don't love Blake Bortles, but this is Dynasty, and I'm in on some Dede Westbrook.
I like it.
I mean, I can't argue with you. I'm strictly going on the numbers game here, and I like what Keelan Cole was doing stretching the field last year, and his athletic ability. I have no hatred for Westbrook in my heart, so I don't even need to let it out. But I liked what Keelan Cole was doing out of Kentucky Wesleyan or wherever the hell he came from, and just lit it up and was a fantastic prospect. And at 151, I mean, I don't think you're selling Keelan Cole if you bought him last year. I think you got to ride this out, and I love the way that they were using him down the field, and he just seemed to be a playmaker. And in college, he was like every 5 catches was a touchdown for this guy.
Yeah,
just an electric player. And I think the future's bright for the Jaguars offense if they can figure out how to strike downfield efficiently.
Maybe Blake Bortles carries this offseason confidence into a whole season of the best of Blake Bortles that we've ever seen. I don't know. But regardless, they don't necessarily need Blake Bortles to crush it to win games because they built this defense in this running game. So
Westbrook, Keelan Cole, and Lee were fairly well supported by Blake Bortles. As much as we love to hate on him,
it's true.
I don't know if they propped him up or he propped them up. Either way.
I mean, 4 out of the 5 games in the season, Keelan Cole was startable. A couple games in a row, Westbrook was startable. Marquise Lee was in one of my lineups pretty much all year long.
And we're talking about rookie wide receivers here, so they don't even need to be startable in their rookie season for me to see enough to want to be in on the future of what they could be.
This is just going to be an obviously very interesting team next year. You got a team that came out of nowhere, made it to the AFC Championship game, was up by 10 in the fourth quarter. They could just fold up shop, or they could just continue to ride that wave of, hey, it was us against the world. We had them. We couldn't,
Let them off the hook.
Let them off the hook. We can let's double back.
That's a good point. It'll be interesting to see how a team who came out of nowhere and every year they were supposed to take a step forward, and this year they took a giant step forward. And now they have a little bit of a target on their back of being the big, bad, mean Jaguars on defense and smash mouth football and a couple of electric players on the outside to stretch the field. So that's a good point. I like that.
And complimentary back up here, if you bring in Allen Robinson, what does that do for these guys? Because I don't think you're bringing back Allen Robinson and not giving him a ton of targets. So, but if you bring in Allen Robinson and Marquise Lee goes away and his targets are gone, it just be
Alan Hearns maybe goes away as well.
Right. It'll be an interesting team, but it'll also be an interesting offense because I think they're going to lean on what got them. Like you said, Jay Wayne, about Westbrook, I think the Jaguars are going to lean on what got them to where they got to, which was a good run game, play action, let your boy run around, let Bortles pick up a first down with his legs, don't turn it over kind of thing. But with Westbrook is dynamite, Keelan Cole's dynamite, downfield
A-Rob
stretcher.
is dynamite.
It's
muddy if he's there for real.
It's going to be muddy, but it's also they're all young. I mean, Allen Robinson's still young, so they're all real young. And what happens if they were to bring in another quarterback next year?
Or draft one this year,
right? Because they could get out from under Bortles next year if they wanted to. The way the deal is
if they could bring in somebody who's a little bit more prolific passing,
right,
and just transfer this thing over. Right now, Coughlin's got it set up the way he wants because he's working with what he had. Yeah. You don't just grab a quarterback out of thin air unless you're the 49ers and you get Jimmy G for a second rounder. It doesn't happen every day.
Speaking of the 49ers, let's get into a little. Oh no. We're gonna break it here. Is that what we're gonna do?
I gave you the break symbol before you ever started this.
Is that what I'm not. I don't have a PhD in sign language, Jason.
I'm literally break. We're going for a break.
All right, it's a hard break.
It was hard. All right.
Well, but we'll be back with some 49ers talk for your pleasure.
Welcome back. We are here to talk 49ers. And handsome Jimmy G.
Oh, Jimmy.
We put out a video a while ago. Is it too soon to crown Jimmy G? And apparently it was not.
It was not. It was after one game.
I'll answer that question, and I will say it's not.
We got on it ahead of time. That video blew up, by the way.
It did. So, obviously, Niners come in. Kyle Shanahan, second year. Jimmy G, half a year. Niners wide receiver situation as it stands currently. Pierre Garçon at 124.
Pierre.
How do you guys feel about that?
I'm in.
That's a quick in. Where you at?
I mean, that's still lower.
I've never really liked Pierre. I've always been disrespecting Pierre over there.
I have not.
Yeah, huh?
Love Pierre.
Yeah,
I like Pierre just fine. I think he's 31, going on 32. He ain't getting no younger. I don't think I want to give him a 12th round startup pick. I'll let him slide a little bit lower than that, or either not have him for a year. It's not going to kill me to not have Garçon on my team for a year or two.
All right, I hear played with Hoyer and Bethard last year.
Beat hard.
Went down week 8, didn't finish the game, but prior to that had 5 double-digit games, one with 20-plus points in there, 2 games under double digits. Week 2 against Seattle, 5.6. Week 4 against Arizona, 7.6. So 2 division rivals there.
Right.
I think you're going to bounce back with Jimmy G. And I think in the 12th round, I think you could get a Crabtree kind of guy right here in the 12th round as just going to be reliable as shit. I mean, he was reliable as shit with whoever playing quarterback.
Right.
Now you're going to get a guy with an awesome release and a guy who understands how to play this game with a good quarterback.
No doubt.
I think you can get a nice piece right here who could drastically, steady the bottom end of your team up week in, week out.
Yeah, so I completely agree. Garcon had 67 targets in the 8 games that he played. No drops. Solid, nice crack pop for Pierre. Once Jimmy got in there, I looked the numbers up. A bunch of completions, 20 or more in every game that Jimmy was out there. Granted, small 5-game sample size, but I mean, should only go up from there, I feel like. Pierre's on contract for $6.5 million guaranteed this year, so
he's coming back.
So he's going to be there, and they're paying him, and I assume they're going to scheme him the ball some, just like he was getting it without Jimmy in there.
Well, I mean, I agree with everything Casey just said. I'm just talking about a startup in 12th round, and then to double down on that, I agree with what he said about who was throwing in the ball. Hoyer was throwing in the ball, and then CJ Beathard comes in there throwing him the ball. So it wasn't going to be good no matter what. But Garcon showed you how awesome he is with those kind of numbers the first half of the season.
So you're in then.
I can be in. I can and I can definitely take a guy in the 12th round who I could probably feel good about starting most of the season as long as he's healthy. I don't get that.
Say you took Chris Godwin at 81.
Sure.
You need someone to play in case
I did tell you I'd put
there.
you in a minivan and put you in a 4-door, get you
It was a Volvo.
a 5-star rating,
or
like,
Subaru preferably.
right.
5-star safety rating.
4-wheel drive.
With
All
Jimmy
wheel.
G in
All
there
wheel
playing
drive.
quarterback, maybe he is a 5-star safety rating. I mean, maybe
Huh?
maybe Garcon in the
Is it
12th or
Subaru?
13th is
It's a Subaru you got handed down from your parents. It still runs
safe
really
as
well.
can be.
This Japanese NASA motor in there, that thing will run for $200K easy. You just change the oil You don't even have to change it regularly. You just have to kind of maintain it.
Exactly. It's quantity over quality with oil. You just got to make sure you stay up to that field line.
You don't want to run it low.
You don't want to run it low.
That's when things start to go bad. But
This is true.
So at 126, you got his counterpart in Goodwin over there, which I can really like. I kind of want to hate a little bit, but really when Jimmy came around, and even prior to Jimmy, Goodwin was having good games and he was showing his explosiveness and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I think they're going to try to either address a wide receiver and some sort of a free agent. We talked about Pryor possibly coming in there, or maybe a Moncrief or somebody coming in there. And then I do think that they'll draft trying to hit on a bigger receiver. Maybe I saw on Roto World they mentioned a Marcel Atman or like one of those bigger bodied guys, which they're kind of lacking currently. How do you feel about Godwin or Goodwin? Sorry,
Goodwin's. I mean, obviously he's got the Olympian speed that's very intriguing. But I mean, Kyle Shanahan was scheming him short. It was similar to what Dede had going on in Jacksonville. There's that deep threat, but I mean they were working him on other parts of the field, short and over the middle, down the field. He looked pretty dang good doing it, and he was out there. I was watching some mic'd up stuff and watching some behind the scenes. Like you hear that those pads just hitting each other.
clickety clack, clickety clack.
You see him taking on that physical role and playing physical throughout the route, and like it looked like he was becoming a real NFL wide receiver rather than just a gimmicky Olympic fast run down the field. He was playing super physical. Like it was impressive to see. He even bailed Jimmy out on one throw, a bad throw that he tossed off his back foot that should have been an interception.
Hey, Jimmy doesn't make bad throws.
He made one. He made one, but you didn't know it was a bad throw because Goodwin came back so hard to the ball and just snatched that thing out of the air. It should have been an interception. Was very impressed.
Jimmy likes Elaine.
I do think that, like you said, I think they'll bring in another wide receiver. But as of now, Jarvis and A-Rob are supposed to be getting franchise tagged, and I know anything can change, but like I'm still very interested in all these dudes. Like I just want a piece of this 49er wide receiver
Agreed.
offense.
Which we've talked about at nauseam multiple
Get a piece,
times.
man.
Yeah.
Get a piece.
There's zero chance they don't bring in help into the wide receiver room. I mean, Garcon's really old. Trent Taylor's awesome and really young. But like you said about Goodwin here, we've been talking about the Niners way too long not to say coaching and X's and O's. But The first 4 years of his career, Goodwin was in Buffalo, where wide receivers go to die, and he had 17 catches.
Bills Mafia hates Big Co at this point.
One catch in 2014 on 10 games, one catch. And only 2 games with 2 catches in 2015, so he had the injury there. In 15 games in 2016, they could only get him to rock 29 times. And just like you just said, he's scheming him short, scheming him long. My man Kyle Shanahan has Goodwin, was in the league for 4 years and comes out there and doubles his catches in one season. And he goes 56 for 962, an average of 17.2. And he had a 3-game stretch there, which was absolutely ridiculous. And he goes 8 for $1.99, 6 for $1.06, and 10 for $1.14.
If you played him in your fantasy playoffs from, let's say you went 13 to 16, week 16 he let you down a little bit, but he was playing Jacksonville, so you probably weren't playing him if you got to the championship game, but he could have got you to that championship game.
Absolutely.
Let's take it all the way back to week 10. From week 10 on, this guy goes 17 points, 11.8, 17.9, 16.6, 22.4. Then he plays Jacksonville and goes down to 6.7.
But if you weren't playing him against Jacksonville.
But the Niners got that win, though, against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Sure did. I like it. So there you are. There's a couple of wide receivers right there. I mean, Goodwin.
So back to the original question. So there are Goodwin and Pierre are around the same area. You had to pick one. Who you got?
I think
I just heard a pin drop.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a tough one. I don't know why there isn't more of a gap.
Neither necessary. It's really more about.
I think I got to go Pierre. I think Pierre's just going to be that locked in at one of those outside guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Goodwin would probably come back to the gimmicky player when Kyle's got more to work with. Like, what did he have at the end of the season? You know,
he worked with what he had.
Exactly. Garcon's nowhere to be seen.
Garcon went down, like I said, week 8, and then from 9 to 10, 11, 12, 13, 14,
he
15,
just plugged
16.
him right in.
Right.
Plugged him right in. But a rookie tight end, you know, rookie slot receiver in Trent Taylor. So he just had nothing else to work with, and he comes in here. And
a rookie backup running back.
Sure, and he turns the
basically a rookie quarterback,
4-year veteran receiver that has done nothing at all into a dynasty a fantasy football end of the season darling.
I want Pierre. I'm going to answer my own question. I'm going to go with Pierre just because I think there's some safety involved. I think he'll be locked in as one of those outside guys. I like what Godwin did. I think he's a nice player to put on the bottom of your roster, but I think I would rather have. Probably not. Maybe I would see what somebody would give me for Goodwin right now, but
I saw him traded for a 3rd rounder the other day.
I would give up. I would trade him for a 3rd rounder right now just to get something for him.
Absolutely.
I guess you could do that. I also think that when they bring in another wide receiver, I think it'll probably push these dudes' ADPs down even further, and you won't have to spend even this much to get them.
I completely agree with that, Jay Wayne. I completely agree with that. And with that 3rd round pick for Goodwin, and I said absolutely on that trade, that was in preparing for a 16-man cut down in FFPC.
Right.
In a deep league, there's no reason to just liquidate Goodwin because you see what he can do. He's obviously an NFL receiver with those types of numbers, and there's no guarantee that the 49ers don't go into the next season and Garcon don't pop a hamstring or something. He's going to be 32 years old. I love Garcon, and I hope he comes out there and crushes, but he could get hurt. He's going to be old. He ain't getting no younger. And maybe they do have a couple of guys and they could draft somebody, but maybe it's a bust. Jimmy G's not a bust. We know that offense ain't a bust. Look what he did this year with parts and pieces.
Well, we know what kind of we know that a Kyle Shanahan offense is a big proponent of. They'll throw a 3rd receiver out there, but Shanahan likes to run that 2 receiver, 2 tight ends in it.
Yeah,
and
keep you guessing on which direction they're going. You know they're going to pound the rock. You just don't know which way they're going with it.
So let's talk about the 3rd receiver who's on the roster currently. Trent Taylor at 217 just seems like it's screaming value to me out of all of these guys. He's a guy that I'm interested probably most in because he's just so super cheap, and he's just a ridiculous slot player and could be everything that, you know, we'll go slot small white guy here and go Trent Taylor or Wes Welker, Julian Edelman kind of Patriots.
You want to know? You want to know what his game log looks like? it looks almost like Cooper Kupp's game log. It really, really does. They had a lot less to work with to get to start. I mean, all right, we're talking about Jared Goff here.
This is a tough, gritty guy right here.
We're talking about the fact that the Rams had
much
Jared
smaller
Goff
than Cooper Kupp.
and how much better now the Jared Goff looks than anything the Niners put under center last year until they got Jimmy G. But just let's keep it all in perspective. Jared Goff in the offense, they averaged 30 points a game. My man was starting out with Brian Hoyer and C.J. Beathard, and he had Garcon and had some players in out there running around with him. But he's a professional wide receiver. Seriously, I guarantee you, nobody out there is on the Trent Taylor bandwagon like we were.
Yeah,
like Casey was when he was out there scoping out Henderson, Carlos Henderson for Texas Tech.
La Tech.
I'll get it right in a minute. But he's like, this boy Trent Taylor is all over the screen and he keeps popping and I can't get him off the screen.
He will not be denied.
Nah,
he will not be denied.
Trent Taylor. Oh my gosh. He's got a great feel for the position. He always finds
there it is in a nutshell.
Yeah,
he has it fit. I mean, I'll let you go on, but that is the quintessential. Like, he has a phenomenal feel for the position. He's super quick, and he's really hard to tackle for being as small as he is.
Oh yeah, I mean the run after the catch ability is awesome. He always finds a crease or a soft spot in the zone. He can make the play along the sideline and toe tap while extending his body and making a catch outside of his frame. The body control is awesome. He's got awesome hands. He's scrappy, like we just said. Like, I could go on forever, baby.
What was that?
That's a little Home Alone. It's actually not.
What part? Where did that come from in Home Alone?
Well, it's actually not Home Alone. He's watching the movie,
watching
the Filthier Angels or something, Angels of a Filthier Time or something like that.
Yeah,
and it's the mob guy. And he's like, you've been smooching with everybody.
Oh yeah. Little Mo with a
curly
gimpy leg.
Little Mo, I could go on forever, baby.
I got it. Little Mo with a gimpy leg.
Yeah,
that's a good. I got you now. I'm in the right spot. I got you.
So I mean, unless just Jarvis Landry shows up at the front door,
which doesn't make any like. Listen, I get it a little bit, but like Trent Taylor is costing you nothing, and he can get the job done.
Yeah, he is basically Jarvis Landry.
Even if Jarvis Landry did show up, I think I'd still be down putting Trent on my team. Like, I mean, they got Jimmy G, Mr. Special Awkward Delivery, Mr. Never Take a Sack, accurate as handsome as hell.
Here's the best part about
4 wide. I don't know.
Here's the best part about Trent Taylor. I put him in as a kicker in a trade the other day. I offered Trent Taylor. I don't want to get rid of him, but I got him on every single one of my Dynasty teams.
Again, another FFPC team where you have to cut down to 16.
You got to cut down to 16. I got a couple of teams that are just so deep, I don't know what to do with myself, so I'm sending out these trade offers, and Trent Taylor, humble brag. Trent Taylor is part of my trade offer, and the dude hits me back and says, I don't even know who Trent Taylor is. And I'm like, this dude's playing for $250 in Dynasty League, and he doesn't even know who Trent Taylor is. And I'm just like, all right, well, I got to rearrange some stuff.
Might have been a wise ass remark, but
maybe, but I'm saying, like, if you don't know who Trent Taylor is right now, you need to figure it out quick, and you need to figure out a way to get him on your team.
If I'm in those kind of leagues where I have to cut down.
If you're paying $250 for the Dynasty League you're in, maybe you know who the Trent Taylor is.
I mean, that might have been just him.
Might have been a little
being
snarky.
Old Weisenheimer.
Yeah, it might have been a little snarky, but
I don't even know who that is.
I mean, I'll give you.
But here's the thing.
A third rounder all day long for Trent Taylor.
Right now, today, obviously at 216 ADP, Trent Taylor's not carrying any weight in a trade unless they're a 49er fan. But I can guarantee you by the 4th or 5th week in the season, everybody in your league's going to know who Trent Taylor is. I guarantee it.
Guaranteed. You're going to be mad those first couple of weeks where you're playing against Trent Taylor and you're like, damn it, what the hell just happened?
Who even is this guy?
Some dude sent me a trade offer for him in February and I didn't take it.
He's crushing me.
All right, well, we're going to take a break here, but we're going to come back with one of the 49ers rivals, Seattle Seahawks, and we're going to talk a little bit of value right there. Well, we just came back with talking about one of the most handsome men in the league, followed by one of the most handsome coaches in the league, followed by one of the most handsome fullbacks in the league. And now we're just going to get into one of the ugliest squads available, the Seattle Seahawks. Just a bunch of smug dudes over there.
Forgot about John Lynch. They got a
handsome GM.
Yeah. If you're joining us on YouTube, we just talked about the 49ers on the last clip. Go check that out.
A bunch of good-looking dudes over there.
Over on the Seahawks, it's just a bunch of Adderall-popping, gum-chewing fanatics.
This is coming from the 49ers fan, just
Pete
hating
Carroll
on the
gets
Seahawks.
3 gum chomps in per second.
But-
That's a solid gum chomp per second average.
I don't love the Seahawks, but I do like a lot of their players. I'll give Doug Baldwin all his due. I liked old P. Rich. Give me some Tyler Lockett down at 195. Bunch of value over there. Everyone's been hating, just like we've been saying. Just a guy, if he comes back and plays 2 good games, everyone's going to be like, oh, I love Tyler Lockett. I got to get him on my team. I knew he was good. You can flip him quick at 195. Give me Tyler Lockett. And then we're going to get some Chris Carson. Chris Carson at 149. Are you kidding me?
That's a little ridiculous.
It is a little ridiculous.
It plays.
I mean, the dude showed me a lot.
I meant the ADP, not the Jerry Seinfeld.
Both are ridiculous. I love Jerry Seinfeld. Also, if you haven't checked out Comedians in Car Drinking Coffee or Getting Coffee, whatever it's called, please check that out. That is fantastic.
It is good stuff.
But back to Chris Carson at 149. This is a ridiculous ADP to me. I don't even understand it.
Can't understand you.
He showed me a lot with an offensive line that was just awful. And I mean, that was really like kind of always the focus of the conversation, and it was for the wrong reason because they're just terrible. But the old finger in the dike with Dwayne Brown there was a nice move for them. Hopefully they'll pick up some more pieces around him, and Chris Carson will be even better. But what you saw from Chris Carson, even with a garbage offensive line, was just explosiveness, tenacity, and the dude can catch balls.
And he can catch.
Yeah,
I saw everything I wanted to see from him in that short amount of games before he went down, and it was everything that I thought I saw on tape coming in, and it was just fantastic.
For all the hate I gave the Texans for letting go of Dwayne Brown, like, good on the Seahawks for stepping up, seeing something like that, seeing a team in desperation to at least get something from a guy who's not even playing, and they grab an anchor left tackle, and they couldn't have needed it worse. So good for the Seahawks for picking him up, and I completely agree with you, Casey. Chris Carson looked absolutely great last year behind a horrible offensive line, and I recently saw him get traded for a 4th rounder in the FFPC. Like,
what? That made me absolutely sick.
How in the world
How did you not why didn't you send that to me?
Why didn't you give me a shout out?
You want to give me a couple miles? I'll take a couple.
So Chris Carson,
a 4th rounder? Are you kidding me?
149.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
How can you be playing for money and trade him for a 4th rounder? Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, you guys watch the games, especially the guys you got on your team.
This guy had an terrible offensive line and just ran with authority.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he's a little bit upright.
boom, shakalaka.
He's a bit upright.
Stiff hips, runs upright.
He's a bit good as well.
What was his yards per carry, 4.0 or higher?
I don't know.
But
really
who's
what
he got to
matters.
compete with?
I don't have that information.
Other than my
in
boy
front of me.
CJ Procise, which we're about to talk about.
Mike Davis.
Too. Mike Davis.
They got to be bringing somebody
Mike
else.
Davis
in, I
is
would
a
imagine.
Gamecock, and I like him a lot, but he is not as good as Chris Carson.
Chris Carson's better than Alex Collins, right? They cut Alex Collins.
Well,
There was a disconnect there.
That was a boo-boo.
Somebody blew it.
Somebody did blow it. But at Chris Carson with 149, now they probably will bring in some competition over, like Eddie Lacy was your competition.
Told you to stay away from him.
Piss poor decision by them. At least he maintained his weight clause. Oh, do we not like Eddie Lacy weight jokes? Not good anymore?
Well, no, I laughed. That was
Okay.
good.
Well, to be completely correct about it, I told you to dump him 2 years ago. Told you to stay away from him, and then last year on Cheap Money, I said buy him for real cheap because you can't get any lower than this, and I was wrong. We got a little lower than that.
The bottom's falling out. Well, I mean, Jordan Howard, the bottom's falling out of him because he's Eddie Lacy and Jeremy Hill all wrapped up into one guy.
In the
Just
weight,
kidding.
in the closet,
Love you, Jared.
in the
Love you,
clause's defense, muscle weighs a lot more than fat does. So maybe that was how Eddie was like, wait, I could beat this clause. I just got to lose some muscle.
I just go lay on the couch and lose some weight.
I'm going to not work out.
I know, I got it. I'm cutting working out.
All right, so back to the guys that are still playing football.
So Chris Carson.
Send us your fat Eddie jokes, please, here at the FF
They're
Times.
not funny
We'll take them
anymore.
all on.
Listen, the fat Eddie jokes need to stop. It's not funny anymore.
Well,
okay?
it's hilarious.
It is. Fat
It's
people are
funny
just
because it's
funny.
fat. Yeah, I'm fat. It's hilarious.
So Chris Carson
Not
at
for me, but for
149.
you.
And then CJ Procise, who obviously has had tons of hype, and he's had some games where he showed out, but it's never really panned out.
The
He's been
porcelain doll.
injury. The porcelain doll, as Jason likes to call him.
I think you said that.
They
I think
finally
you coined that.
they finally shut him down at the end of the season. Hopefully he can get right. But I love this combination of CJ Prosise at 209 and Chris Carson at 149. It's just super cheap. And maybe nothing will come of it, but I liked what I saw from Chris Carson in the games where CJ Prosise gets in there and is healthy and can do his thing. I've loved everything I've seen from him. And this just seems like a nice little tandem that you can grab for nothing. It's peanuts.
Peanuts. I love that. When you brought that up, I was like, that is a spectacular idea. You can grab Chris Carson in the 13th round, and then you can come back around 17 or 18 and grab CJ Prosise. Are you kidding me? Obviously, I was all on CJ Prosise, and
Oh, me too. I'm a huge CJ Prosise.
Some of the best college highlight tape that is out there.
and there's some of the best rookie NFL tape there is out there for his couple of minutes when he was shining there, when he was breaking off this.
That Patriots game.
He crushed it. He absolutely crushed
Watch
it.
the Patriots game. You look pretty good.
Yeah, and you know, you can say all you want to about me yelling about CJ Prosise, but the biggest names in the industry followed my coattails talking about this dude looks like Arian Foster, so I don't want to hear it. 17th round coming back around next year. If this dude hits the field and he's healthy, he could help you win your league for a 17th round pick. And he's going to be on every single
absolutely.
I may
Him
only
and
do
Chris Carson,
I may
for
only
sure.
do 2 startups this year because I'm getting a little deep in the dynasty leagues and I got a lot going on. But in the 2 that I do, I'm getting CJ Prosise. And the ones that I've already existing, the leagues where I don't own him, I will be going out looking to buy him at a 17th round value.
There's leagues you don't own him in?
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
Well, he was very popular. He was hard to pick up.
Yeah, it was like last year, like the 10th round, he was really popping off just as a guy who.
Why wouldn't he? Yeah, it didn't work out, of course. He got hurt, obviously. But, I mean, you had to live through Keenan Allen getting hurt for a couple of years. It could happen.
Oh, I still love the athletic profile of this guy and what he can do on the field.
Dude, when CJ Prosise hits the field again healthy, he's going to be awesome. And this year, the thing is, you get him in the 17th round. So if he never plays again, who cares?
Who gives a shit?
Who cares? But if he does play,
Gold jacket, green jacket, who gives a shit?
he may not ever play again. But if he does, you better hope he's on your team for a 17th round pick because we told you.
Yeah, I'm in love with this.
I
with
like
this
that's
combo.
a strong combo.
I love this combo of players
Combo
here
player.
at 150, 149, and 209 all day long.
So here, that's your solid running back depth to get taking a good home run cut at the very end of the dynasty startup here. You could grab you a couple of good running backs early, paste you a bunch of wide receivers on your team, grab you a couple rookie running backs on the way out, and then at the very last on the way out the door, you're like, hey, I got Chris Carson and CJ Prosise. Peace, deuces, I'm out.
But before you go out that door, I'm going to give you the floor on this one because I know this is your guy. We're going to jump. Obviously, Carson was at 149, but in between where
We had to get CJ and Carson lined up.
Right, you got to. Because that's kind of why I like Chris. If you can just get Chris Carson on his own, I'm fine with it. But I love pairing the two together. But then you got your boy Corey Clement here at 162. This guy at 162. This guy. That's my John Gruden. What do you? I know me and Jay Wayne had some discussions about Corey Clement early in the season without you and how we thought he was the Eagles running back to own moving forward prior to Ajay. But I know this is your guy. So what do you at 162? Why do you need to have him on your team?
He is my guy. All right. So Corey Clement in a couple of leagues.
Real quick before he gets going,
sure.
We're gonna give a quick shout out to
Old Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler from DHH was the guy shouting from the mountaintops that he loved Corey Clement regardless of what anybody else was saying and the grades they gave this guy. So hats off to him. But
yeah, good for Tyler for picking up on him.
We'll give you next in the clubhouse over here.
Sure, I'll take second place here. I didn't love Corey Clement coming out of Wisconsin. I did like him just fine, but when you get a guy and then you go undrafted and you're like, dang, there's got to be a reason for that. But the thing is, it didn't take me but just a carry or two and a catch or two, and really just how the Eagles took this rookie running back who's undrafted, and I see him playing third down and in the red zone early in the season, and that's all I needed to see. I went and picked him up on every single one of my teams.
Looked just so good doing so.
So prepared.
Every
and
time
ready.
he touched it, it was awesome.
I'm telling you, this dude he got no love all year long. Blunt was over there beating people in the head with his helmet, just taking some touchdowns and looking good here and there. Ajayi came over there in the trade. They gave up peanuts for Ajayi. It was a great trade for the Eagles, and he does look very, very aggressive on some runs here and there. But I'm telling you, the way Clement is using this offense, to me, he looked like the best running back they had all year. And I'm going to stand. I know that's a little bit ridiculous, but that's what I saw. That's how I felt. He's my boy, 5'10", 220.
That's what it's all about.
He's 5'10", 220. He won the third down role in a great schemed offense as a rookie, an undrafted rookie. Second half of the season, he was the RB of choice in the red zone unless they were close enough to bring in Blunt. I'm not selling him off any of my teams. I'm going to hang on to him. I would say buy him everywhere you can, but he ain't going to get him in any of my leagues because I got him in every single league. If there's one league I know about right now that I don't have him in, and I'm upset about it. But Rich Eisen, check out the Rich Eisen interview post Super Bowl with this guy. Great. He's a beast of a person. He'll be in the league for a long time, and that's what you got to take away from Corey Clement. Obviously, he's going to start the season next year behind Jay Ajayi if they have Jay Ajayi back on the Eagles. But
they got him for one more year. He's got one more year left on his contract for pretty cheap. So Ajayi's here for one more year, but he may not be here after that.
He may not be here after game 2. You never know. He got a rickety knee, and you never know.
It hasn't given out on him yet, but
it hasn't given out on him yet. But my point is
limited
now
usage.
At 162, Corey Clement's value, I don't think it'll ever be lower. So go
like that.
get it.
to be fair, I'm a little surprised it's this low after a Super Bowl performance that he put on.
Sure, and I want to go back to listen, if you saw a guy who you liked what you saw, and regardless if you can explain why you liked it or not, you saw something in a guy that you liked. So fuck everybody else.
Sure.
You saw something that you like that may or may not be explainable. I can't really explain exactly what I loved that I was seeing from this guy. I just saw that he had it. Mm-hmm. And I saw it before a lot of other people jumped on him seeing that he had it.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's one of the most important parts of this entire game.
Yep.
I'm going to use my eye and I'm going to find out which guys have it. And I don't have to explain anything to anybody. I saw what I saw.
Although we will
I saw him
extensively.
Right. That's what we're here to do.
For your pleasure.
We will explain it extensively, but you're right.
This is what that's how
Jeff.
I run. Yeah. This is how I run what I'm doing. I sometimes I can't explain what I see. I can't put it into words correctly, but I see something that is just unexplainable, and he just has it. He can play the game.
Yeah.
And that's what Corey Clement has, and what he has shown everybody by the end of the season, and when all eyes were on him in the Super Bowl. And he did exactly what he needed to do, and he was an integral part of everything that they needed to do in the Super Bowl.
By the time he was showing it consistently enough on the field, if you played with me in every league except for one, you couldn't pick him up because I already had him. But a lot of that it does. I did like what I saw, and you're right, Casey. It's very hard to explain it other than him being so smooth catching the rock and looking strong and very, very nimble for a 220-pound man. But also, I just had to take a very, very smart offensive coordinator turned new head coach and take it for his actions. He's got plenty of guys that could have been out there in this role. But he's got this undrafted rookie who's all of a sudden...
He saw it too.
That's what I'm saying. I saw that he saw it. I said, well, this Doug Peterson is an offensive genius.
And maybe if Sproles doesn't get hurt, maybe you never even see Corey Clement.
Not for the whole year, probably.
Strange how things unfold like that.
Exactly. And this all of a sudden, this dude...
Donnell Pumphrey tore his hamstring. They drafted him in the 4th round, I think. Could have had him in this 3rd down role.
But they had a rookie running back running in the red zone, and just the gamble of him being on the field was
in
enough.
Huge situations.
Big situations. And I said, you know what?
Never wavered.
That's all I need to say. That's all I need to say. That's my boy. That is my boy. Clement is a beast.
I know something about Clement, and let me tell you, he's the best.
It's huge.
If anybody knows anything about Clement, it's me. He's the best.
I own Clement.
I own Clement. I don't even use him anymore.
I own Doral.
Well, Jay Ajayi could be out of there after this year. They got Wendell Smallwood, but he was a healthy scratch at the end of the year.
Corey Clement pushed him out.
They drafted Donnell Pumphrey, but he tore his hamstring.
He ain't playing in front of Clement.
LeGarrette Blount says he's down to come back, but he ain't probably coming back. So, I mean, this dude could be the workhorse of the future for these Eagles, and you can get him right here in 162. So
that's what I'm saying, and he's a 3-down back.
It's a good cut for a guy who showed out in big situations. I love it.
All right, well, let's take a quick break here. We'll be back. We'll rapid fire off our last segment of dudes you should be paying attention to in the ADP after the break. All right, welcome back in. Hit us up on Twitter if you like, at the FF Dynasty. We had to bid Big Co adieu, but and then we took a little hiatus, went to the Green Goat, got a late night snack.
Late night snack. It's 1:14 a.m. We're over here having a good time. We had a nice chat with the bartender, thinking about spawning a new podcast.
Yeah, three PPRs and a bartender.
3 PPRs and a bartender.
He didn't like the PPR part. He doesn't play PPR.
He's a standard guy.
We tried to
Living
move
in a
him
PPR
over.
world. No, wasn't into it.
He admitted that that was maybe dumb. Maybe he was dumb. He was open to that idea and would be down to sell us, have us sell him the PPR, but. One thing led to another. Boom, boom, boom. Another shot of
Rumplements. Every effing time.
And now we're back on the mics.
Let's do it.
For your pleasure.
Let's finish it up.
We could have just hung out tonight and BS, done our own thing, but we're getting back on here for you. One last segment.
For your pleasure.
Yeah. So we're going to do what we never do, which is a little bit of rapid fire, although I'm sure this
Sometimes we try. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, we already came back from the break, and it took way longer than I had planned. But
So we'll pick up right where we left off. At 152 is ASJ. We talked about him briefly earlier. Big Co was saying that he'd rather draft ASJ than I forget who, but
yeah.
I'm sure it's in there somewhere. But at 152, this doesn't even make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, after the year that he had and the touchdowns that he scored, and it wasn't even that great of an offense, and he revived his career. He basically Josh Gordoned it without the huge story because he wasn't quite Josh Gordon, but
Right, didn't quite make it to that level, but
right, was never on that
was on
kind
pace
of level, but got himself right, came back into the league, and had a great year.
I can't see any way that it stays at this. I think as the months wane on here, that
especially with all the talk about extension and
Right.
more money for him and stuff.
I think this guy deserves to be higher and should be higher. But if he's not, and right now, judging by the 152 ADP,
Always
and
looking
how
for a
that is,
tight
like,
end.
yeah, exactly. Number one, you're always looking for a tight end. This guy is a physical specimen, and I love everything I've been on his jock for a little while.
Been jocking ASJ.
Finally been jocking ASJ. Finally paid off a little bit this season, and I think it's going to do nothing but improve as we go on. He's definitely somebody I'd be throwing out trades for. I mean, I'd pay a second rounder all day long for ASJ.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I think
Seems a little
he's
steep,
got all
huh?
the pieces that I need, and it's a position I'm always chasing, and
Right.
I like his athletic profile. So if he can keep his SHIT together, I would heavily invest in some ASJ. We'll stick right there in New York
With the Jets.
with Quincy Enunwa, who missed this season. He's at 163. I think he's pretty interesting. What do you think?
I'm a big fan of Nunwa. I was, I think he was a tight end at one point that converted to wide receiver.
I don't know if that's a fact.
No?
I think he was just a bigger receiver, bigger bodied, bigger specimen.
Plays like a tight end.
You're right.
But he's super fast.
That was kind of the last year. That was or 2 years ago, I guess. That was kind of the sentiment that they didn't have a tight end, and he was kind of the bigger bodied guy who would fill in as their tight end,
Right.
But not actually play the tight end spot, quote unquote.
Fair enough.
And he, by all means, did work in that
yeah.
season. And I like him on a bounce back. 163 seems like a decent value here. I'd be poking around for some Enunwa, and I don't have any real problem pulling the trigger here at somebody who could have tremendous upside.
Yeah, especially this late in the draft. This is a guy who you saw, he had 58 catches for 857 yards back in 2016, 4 touchdowns. Didn't get a ton of run that year, but came on a little bit late. He showed you flashes. He can win in those contested tight spaces. He's a big dude. He's fast. I think his height-adjusted speed score is pretty solid. And he's just a football player. He makes plays along the sideline and in those close quarters. Went back and watched some of that 16 tape, and it looked good, man. He's coming down with balls you don't think he's going to come down with.
Yeah.
And making plays. And at 163, go grab yourself a 6'2", 225-pound playmaker. You know?
Absolutely.
I don't know what the Jets are going to be doing at quarterback. They seem to be trying to get Kirk, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Looks like all signs are pointing to Minnesota, which if I was Kirk, that's where I'd be going to.
Maybe the Broncos, if they kept Manny and Demaryius, that would be pretty intriguing too. But I don't know if the Broncos can do that with their cap situation. Regardless, I don't think Kirk's going to end up in New York. I don't
think
know
so
what
either.
their quarterback situation is going to do. McCown was very serviceable.
Sure.
I mean, Robbie Anderson and Curse, some boys had solid years. You could have been playing them if you needed to. Robbie Anderson for sure. Austin
and then
Safarian.
Kind of weighing into that is Robbie Anderson's got some what you would say legal issues pending.
He can't go out off the field without swinging at a cop.
Could you
or
stop
something.
wrestling police officers?
What are you
please?
doing?
How hard is this?
Man.
Like they bother me too.
Yeah.
But like you just got to know.
Sometimes you can just think things and not follow through
Right.
with actions.
I've been arrested for having my run-ins with the law, but I mean I was 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you get a little wild and crazy and
Yeah, but
But
you
come
didn't
on,
have
man.
millions of dollars
No,
on the
right.
line.
Yeah, just keep it together, man.
Yeah, so who knows what's going to happen with him? Anunwa, let's see, he's got
1 year left.
he's
on
a
his,
he's a restricted free
Yeah.
agent, so they got
1
to
year
tender
left on the deal.
They got to tender him.
Super
They got to
cheap.
put some kind of tender on him, which I think they probably will.
Right.
He is coming off of a bulging disc in his neck. Not the greatest thing to hear.
No.
Long recovery, but that happened super early. I don't even think he played at all. So he's had a long
Interesting-
time to
interesting
recover.
guy for me there.
And it's a solid swing here late in the draft.
Why not?
Let's
Let's stick around in New York. Let's go with another guy who's near and dear to your heart. You're a Tiger guy. We'll go with Clemson,
Wayne Gallman.
the guy responsible for our first 2-star review ever last summer.
Oh man.
Some guy was very upset that we had Wayne Gallman at the end of the second round.
Yeah, and our mock it up
guess
before
what?
you
The
fuck
joke's
it up.
on you, buddy, because I'm all in on some Wayne Gallman, especially at 169. When he got his chances last year, I thought he looked really good. He can catch the ball. He runs physical. I like everything that Wayne Gallman had going on. He's probably going to get at least a little bit more run at the chance to be at least a part of the New York Giants offense. Now, if they do draft Saquon Barkley, a little bit of a bummer for Wayne, but right now as it stands, 169 is I thought Wayne looked really good in his spots last year.
Yo, Wayne looked awesome, man. He's just like spry, limited action, but I mean, he showed you the ability to grind. I think he's got more wiggle than he's ever been given credit for. The hands are awesome. He's awesome in the receiving game. He doesn't have to leave the field in passing situations or in third downs. He could potentially be an every down back if they gave him the opportunity.
It's possible.
And I went back and watched the games that he played in, and like he looked great. I thought it looked awesome. I'd be down to give up a second round pick to get Wayne Gallman. Like I'd venture into. I usually have like a fair amount of late second round picks. I definitely give that up. I give up a third all day if anybody didn't know what the hell was going on. I'd be down to try to acquire him, and I'd definitely be down at 169. So,
Right. Obviously, we'll see what happens in the draft, and if that happens,
right. If
the
it's,
ADP
whoever
will-
takes Saquon,
the ADP
everybody
will
else
drop.
on that team's
Right.
RB spot's going to be like, damn
for sure,
it.
for sure.
But you can also, I'm not gonna be able to blame a team for taking Saquon because the
can't.
dude is the next
Can't
level.
be mad at you.
I mean,
Can't
you
be
didn't
mad
need
at
the
you.
combine to know that he was the biggest, fastest, strongest dude in the
No,
world.
but it just
right
confirmed
now.
everything you needed to see. Checked all the boxes, and
Right.
I can't be mad at anybody. You know, people.
Well, I guess
people,
if
people
in
say
super slow motion, you could pause a certain couple of plays where he missed the big hole.
sure, whatever.
I'm gonna pause this right here.
But he's got everything you need.
Yeah.
He can do everything you
But
want.
I mean,
so-
the Giants need to take some offensive linemen. Like they don't need to draft Saquon. That's not their.
True.
It's not going to change that franchise. I mean, he's going to change any franchise, but I don't think that's what the Giants need. I don't think they're. Plus, I
No.
don't know what pick they have, or what pick did they have? Like the
2?
second one? Yikes! Guess they could take Saquon. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I definitely want to see what'll happen. But regardless, Wayne Gallman did all he could do in the spots and the opportunities that he was given, and I loved
Yeah.
it. So
Let's keep it rolling. We got Rashard Matthews on the list here at 176.
perennial disrespected.
For sure. I mean, just has produced wide receiver 36 last year.
Yeah, as bad as that offense was, and as bad as Mariota's numbers overall were, I mean, Mariota did a lot to help them win games and played well at the end of the games, and still I don't think he's thrown an interception in the red zone. But overall, the numbers and the offense in general took a step back and didn't produce they didn't have production. You know,
Right.
they didn't produce a lot, and he still finished, like you said, as the wide receiver 36. So
I mean, this is a fine stab with me. I like him as a receiver. I like what he does. I think he's a nice role player for your team. You can add him late in the draft here, and he can help you out throughout the season when you have a banged up player, or you see a good matchup, or maybe this offense turns around and he's rolling, and all of a sudden you want to start him every week. So
right,
I'm all in at Rashard Matthews at 176.
Stick with the Titans.
Stick
Move
with
over
the
to
Titans.
183, Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith, old Delaney's getting a little long in the tooth. You saw Jonnu get some opportunities last year. He looked decent in doing so.
Yeah,
So-
I really liked I watched the interview of him after the game when he scored his first touchdown. I think it was on a screen pass, used his blockers well, scored a long touchdown, and after the game, they had won that game, and they asked him about it, and he was like, oh, it was awesome. I didn't really know what to do. It was my first touchdown, but I knew there was going to be more, so I just settled down, and it's not about that. It's about getting the W, and let's move on to next week. Like his head is in
Delaney's
the right
giving him his
spot.
due as well. Delaney said that the team's in good hands with Jonnu,
And he compares
whenever.
a lot physically to
Yeah.
Delaney and what they do there. So
For sure.
I'd be down to take Jonnu Smith if you've punted on tight ends early in the draft. This is a solid late round swing.
I'm okay.
I'd also just grab him. I
Right,
mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like if I probably drafted a tight end by now,
right.
But this is a guy that I would love to put on the bottom of my bench and just kind of wait for a year or two, let Delaney play his way out, because Delaney deserves as much time as he wants to play. Delaney's been great.
And he's a young 32, 33. He didn't have a lot of wear and tear on him early in his career
No,
with
San
San
Francisco
Fran. So,
had Vernon there for a little while he was there.
which we've said that before on this show. If you listen to this show, keeping it right in the tight end range at
Next pick
180
down.
Next spot 184. Gerald Everett.
Either one of these guys, I'm okay with grabbing and stashing for a year, and maybe I like Everett a little bit more than Jonnu, but
From
just-
an athletic profile standpoint, perhaps, and
Maybe-
you probably
maybe
got
just-
more draft capital
maybe
as well.
just from the
offense in general,
right? From the standpoint of what the Rams are doing and kind of seeing where they're heading, and not knowing exactly where the Titans are heading. I think I like Everett just a smidge more than I like Jonnu, but I'll take either one.
Absolutely. The Rams do have that other tight end there, Tyler Higbee.
Yeah,
And he kind of he's an athletic. He's got a nice
but
athletic
not
profile.
not this regime's guy.
No, but has stayed out of trouble. That was
Yeah,
the
that was the
problem with
concern.
him. He stayed out of trouble up to this point, so that's good. He showed some flashes last year, but I don't think. I mean, I'd rather have Everett for sure.
Yeah.
And I'd take Everett or Jonnu Smith. I'd take them
Either
both
one.
if I had,
Sure.
whatever.
I got them both on a couple of dynasty squads, and I love just looking at my little practice squad with those two guys down there.
Yeah.
So that's fun. Keeping the train rolling here, Devontae Booker at 192 and D'Angelo Henderson at 266. I think is an interesting tandem to pair up. Very obtainable. I think C.J. Anderson's probably on the outs, which is good for him. I'm still a fan of him.
Sure.
I think he could go somewhere else and get proper usage. I like C.J. Anderson, another guy who is a perennial people love to hate.
Love to hate him.
Stays at the player haters ball.
Yeah.
He's got a room in the hotel, I think, just on lockdown that they just live in. But I do think what the Broncos were doing offensive line wise and kind of where they were heading, I liked where the offensive line was heading. They need a QB. I think this could be a nice situation. I liked what Booker has shown me. People like to hate on him a little bit, and then D'Angelo Henderson is super cheap at 266. So I like the combination of that duo there of just maybe getting a cheap tandem.
Yeah, that's a solid standpoint to take there. I really like what I saw from Booker. There were points there in the regular season where he came out and was making some crazy plays, like scoring plays, like leaping over dudes and bowling them over. And I thought for sure when you saw him do that everyone was going to be on board. They were like, "Oh damn, Booker's good." And now the cat's out of the bag. Nope. But no, he's still being super disrespected.
People don't like him.
And like the Broncos seem super bullish on him.
Yeah, and when he was a rookie playing with C.J. Anderson and they were both healthy for a while, I talked about this a while on one of the older podcasts about when they were really firing on all cylinders with both of those guys. I thought they were both working really well together and they were both kind of working off of each other. And I think that's something that could be, kind of happening with Booker and D'Angelo Henderson, who's an interesting guy. But again, just like the attainability of the 192 of Booker and the 266 of D'Angelo Henderson, maybe for a cheap tandem.
Yeah, it's a solid swing to take, and if they're gonna bring in a quarterback of some sort, whether they land Kirk or maybe they go get Bradford or something, or Keenum. I bet you they're definitely gonna get. LA wants a serviceable quarterback.
Maybe they draft one and then just pick up somebody to start in the interim.
Yeah,
we'll kind of see what happens there. I've seen
got to be something. They got to do something to improve that situation.
The quarterback,
their defense is too good.
Defense is good enough. It's fallen off a little bit, but
They're probably going to lose to Lieb,
most likely.
But it's still a solid squad, still a decent organization. Let's move along. We got
197 D-Jacks. What do you think about that?
Well, that's like 100 spots falling off in a year.
Right.
I don't know why. I guess it wasn't his fault that he didn't have a good year.
I don't think he played extremely terrible. I think we mentioned it earlier that I on maybe the prior podcast of just saying that Jameis they weren't on the same page. I saw D-Jacks be open plenty of times and just wasn't hit when he needed to be hit or hit in the right spot. And I think this is a really nice value of somebody who could play ginormous dividends at 200.
Yeah.
Of a guy who could,
yeah, it's not a
be
long
near the
term.
top of the end in long touchdown plays, and it was there last year. Like I said, they just didn't quite connect. Jameis was a little erratic on some deep ball throws, and he was doing more than just being a deep threat last year, and Jameis just wasn't connecting with him. So I think at 197, D-Jacks is still a nice little pickup. He's still got the speed. He didn't show any signs of really slowing down too much over the course of last year to warrant a 100-point drop-off,
right?
In my opinion.
Somehow he got out of a trouble with the law. His car was, quote, stolen.
The old car was stolen.
There
wasn't
was some
me.
guns and marijuana inside of it. But
good for D-Jacks, though.
It wasn't me.
Good for him.
He beat it. He probably fled from the scene so fast he was a blur because he's got that speed. You couldn't see him, but whatever.
Good for him.
No trouble. So he got out of it. That's nice. This isn't a long-term play. I think the Bucs will probably get out from underneath him after this year. But I mean,
they can save
at
themselves like $10 million
197
after this year,
right? And they should. And they got Chris Godwin coming up. We talked about that on the last podcast. But I mean, at 197, this guy in 1 year could pay huge dividends. So
he can make you some money,
right?
That's what I'm looking for right now. A guy who can make me some money.
The Bucs last year were a dumpster fire.
Sure,
everybody quit. So I think it's a new season.
Yeah.
I'm down to take a swing right there. Let's move along.
199, Yeldon, interesting. Got one more year hanging out in
Ivory's out of there.
Ivory's out of there.
Fournette deals with some nicks.
Yeldon wasn't any good, and then at the end of this year, you kind of saw him coming into that passing game role, and
he's always been good in the
really
passing game.
Right,
50 balls 2 years ago.
So around 200 ADP. Interesting guy for me, and maybe you have to wait this year before he's actually usable, but he's probably going to go somewhere else in a year. Just thought that was interesting. And then his counterpart, Corey Grant, also a really fun guy.
Yeah, doesn't even have an
ADP. Somebody that I would be on my radar to picking up at the end of a draft or trying to acquire in a trade just to hang on for either. He might be a little useful in season, but next season moving forward, both of those guys I think would be really interesting. Who else you got?
Well, John Brown's name is down there at 200. It's
a mentionable name down there at 200. A guy who everybody had liked for a long time. Unfortunately, had a little sickle cell issue, has had a problem staying healthy because of that. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but I picked him up in one of our home leagues. Somebody dropped him just at the end of the year. He was like a week kind of 16, just scoop up off the waiver wire because people were dropping for younger guys, and I just decided to scoop him up. Interesting guy in my mind.
He's a free agent.
He's a free agent and a guy who people loved for a long time. So again, like we mentioned with multiple guys like Corey Coleman, and we talked about it with Tyler Lockett and multiple other guys. He's a guy who was a kind of like a cult hero. Everybody was waiting for John Brown to just be the next. At one point, he was the next Antonio Brown. Like people loved John Brown. And if he does get off to a little, he's a guy that I could see is very flippable quickly just because I hate to hammer this point home podcast after podcast, but this is a guy that there was a bunch of people who bought into it. So it's, to me, in my mind, if somebody like that can go off for a couple of weeks, he's very flippable.
Solid chance you can flip for a profit.
Keeping it moving with Charles Clay at 215. I mean,
Get
you're
out
not,
of town.
You're not paying anything for this guy. And at one point, he was one of the better tight ends in the league last year. He's had a problem with staying healthy, but when he is healthy,
The offense basically runs through him.
he was great.
They don't want to throw it to a wide receiver.
So very interesting to me with Charles Clay there at 215. How about 221 with Peyton Barber? Obviously you got Doug Cutton, and with kind of the recent news here, the question for me is: are you trying to hang on, or are you just pumping this guy out immediately? I know this is probably maybe 2 weeks old or so from when that news hit, but if you're a Peyton Barber guy who scooped him up maybe at one point when Doug wasn't playing last year, and he played really well. Like we did some Peyton Barber stuff at I think week 13 of last year, and we're really loving what we saw from Peyton Barber. Is he somebody that you might be interested in? Maybe the Bucs given a chance to have a role on this team, or is it somebody you're just immediately trying to sell for anything that you could possibly get for him because there's a vacancy right there?
Man, that's tough. I mean, I guess I'd ring the register if I could.
Yeah.
I don't know what you could really.
I don't know if you're going to really get anything for him, but
all they got on the roster right now is Peyton Barber and Jaquiz Rodgers.
Right.
So I don't think that's all they're going to roll into the season with.
Right.
You know, Doug's out. Charles Sims is a free agent.
But
they're probably going to draft somebody. But I mean,
if I'm the Bucs, I would probably draft somebody or pick up a free agent. But I want to give this guy a chance. I thought what I saw from him at he was catching balls, he was running well, he had some really good games. I think that Week 13 game was against the Packers. It was a solid game. We talked
at
about
Green
him
Bay,
for a while.
23 carries for 102 yards, caught 4 balls for another 41 yards. Yeah,
had a little bit of a solid run there, and I thought he looked good doing so. So I mean,
still only 24 years old.
Interesting guy to me. At 221,
he's an exclusive rights free agent. So
right at 221, that's an interesting area for me.
Yeah.
Then Josh Reynolds at 222.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
we liked him in the offseason last year.
In the offseason, super late.
Liked his ability to go down the field. He didn't
rookie
get
drafts
too much of an opportunity, but then
when he did,
Robert Woods got hurt,
right?
And he came in, and they were targeting him. Man, he could have had 2 touchdowns in this one game, and it just didn't go his way. The ball didn't kind of fall his way, but they were scheming him, and he was open, and he could have had that Corey Coleman flash that.
Well,
that he kind
of falls into me like a Josh Doxson kind. This guy, Josh Reynolds, is a fantastic vertical threat with phenomenal ball tracking ability. I love the way
a lot of long plays in college.
I love the way he tracks the ball and catches the ball. I think he's a pretty solid player. And at 222, he's not going to cost you anything. You can put him at the bottom of your roster. They don't bring Sammy back, and one of those other guys get hurt.
Yeah,
I mean,
but if they do bring Sammy back, then it's a little muddy, and he's the 4th wide receiver on his team. I got to assume Tavon Austin's out of here. Can't believe we even mentioned his name.
But no, Tavon's gone.
You don't think they're bringing Sammy back?
I don't think so, but who knows? I think they could make it happen without paying all that money to Sammy.
Yeah, I think they'll probably try, but who knows?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised either way, I guess. But, I mean, Josh Reynolds, solid stab, had a couple flashes. I think did score a touchdown, but he could have had some more.
Yeah.
And I really like what I saw from him, both coming out of college and the little bit of work he got in the pros.
To wrap this up, a couple more guys. Jared Cook at 262.
Yeah.
Just real. I mean, that's a guy I've hated on for a while because he had a ton of athletic ability and just really thought that he just never really tried hard enough and never really put a season together. But by all means, for the Raiders last year, I thought he played really well.
Yeah, bright spot in a bad season.
Exactly. And I think at 262, that's a gimme for a position that you're always struggling to find continuity at. And I'll put him at the bottom of my roster with no problem. You got Rod Smith, who, if you're an Ezekiel Elliott owner at 277, is a no-brainer to me. He showed out well in his spots. And then the counterpart, Alfred Morris, at 243. Obviously, he's probably out of there, but everyone was loving the Rod Smith thing, but I thought Alfred Morris played great.
Alfred Morris has always played pretty good.
I thought he played great in his time in Dallas there when he had the chances to start for Zeke.
I don't know why Alfred Morris is always just getting straight hated on.
Just an interesting guy at 243, and he's a free agent. We'll kind of see where he lies. Rod Smith is not a free agent, but if you own Zeke, he's a guy who I'm trying to go buy. If I'm not in a startup and I'm a startup, this is a super cheap insurance policy for Zeke. At
Absolutely.
277, are you kidding me? Like, come on.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He can catch the ball. They use him some in red zone situations.
Yeah.
And
He did
looked
well when they
decent.
gave
Yeah.
him his opportunity, too.
Yeah.
J.J. Nelson, another guy at 235, kind of interesting. He's flashed a couple of times.
Showed you a little bit of evolution from being just a downfield threat, kind of working some more intermediate type of routes. Didn't have the best QB situation there in Arizona. I don't know. He's still a young dude.
Yeah,
solid swing at the very end of a draft.
Absolutely. And like I said, he's flashed multiple times and had parts and pieces of the season where it was like, oh, he's pretty electric. So those are the kind of guys I want to put at the bottom of my back. Guys who I'm swinging for the fences.
Right.
And if they turn into something awesome, great, I can flip them or hang on to them. Another guy on the Dolphins here, everyone wants to give Carew a ton of love. And if this guy leaves, it's Carew. And maybe it is. And to be fair, Carew's a bigger bodied 6'1", supposed to be a pretty fluid guy. But Jakeem Grant, I know he's only 5'6" or 5'7", little sparky over there, but I like what this guy brings to the table. Again, he doesn't have an ADP, but just somebody that I would add to the bottom of my roster because why not?
Yeah, check out his highlight tape. Solid string of awesome moves.
It's somebody that the Dolphins have made on record saying that this is a guy we got to get the ball in his hands more somehow, some way. He's just electric.
Yeah.
Rico Gathers at 287.
Yeah, showed you some flashes in the preseason, caught some touchdowns, got a little hype. I'm actually kind of surprised it's this freaking low.
I am too. I thought
he's like a darling.
He's like a cult hero.
Right, another one of those.
Didn't expect 287.
Yeah.
Jerome Brown, we talked about him in the free agent podcast a little at 291.
Jermaine Kearse at 297.
That seems ridiculous to me.
Nobody even watched this.
Right. Kearse was very startable for a good chunk of last year. At 297, I mean, maybe the Chiefs maybe the Jets bring in some more help and maybe Enunwa comes back and maybe that's why he's buried down here a little bit more. But who knows what's going to happen with Robbie Anderson and all that kind of stuff there. But Kearse at 297 is kind of like I thought he showed very well. Why not put him on the bottom of your roster?
Took a huge step forward this last season.
And then to round this thing out, one pick later, B. Marsh at 298.
B. Marsh.
I mean, why not? Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Come on.
Because he could come back and then and he wants to keep playing. He's been really nicked up.
Yeah.
Which is kind of he's kind of been that way his whole career. He's been able to play through some of that stuff. But he's hit a couple years of bad stretches here. I don't know where he's going to be, if he's going to be a Giant or not. But at 298,
put him on there and just hope for the best.
Maybe you use him for a game or two.
Yeah,
and he can score. He can score you a touchdown, move the chains. So
why not? He's super cheap.
Yeah,
he's been a producer in this league. You can catch maybe a little lightning in a bottle on a guy who maybe he retires. Who knows? But right now at 298, he was just a huge name at the bottom of a list. Why not?
You're right. Yeah, it's kind of like, damn, he's all the way down here. Sure, let's do it. Ole do it.
Well, we've been a long day. We just did 2 podcasts
back to back.
Ready to call it a night.
I know.
What do you got for us?
Hit us up on Twitter at the FF Dynasty. We have our own individual handles at IMC Myers, at Dynasty Big Co, at Jay Wayne's World. Please give us a 5-star review on iTunes. You just have to click the little 5 stars.
That's it. It's that simple.
So simple. We'd greatly appreciate it. It helps us out, helps us get on the top of the list, helps us reach more people. So please and thank you. Hit subscribe on your platform of choice. Podbean, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeart Radio. Go on to YouTube. Hit subscribe there. Check out the videos we're putting up. It's a pretty cool little platform. Another way to help us get the word out about us. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us. Until next time, you've been listening to the FF Dynasty's Married to the Game. Peace.